My truck has not left the house in about 2 weeks, but I have to go get more drywall. I am completely out of drywall, so I have to get the truck out. And we're about to see how well this dirt handles the weight of my truck. Still pretty soft. Gee whiz, still pretty soft. But we got out. Hallelujah. One 4x8 sheet of drywall weighs almost exactly 40 pounds. 40 sheets of drywall in the back of my truck, 1,600 pounds. I would guess my truck weighs somewhere around 6,000 pounds, maybe a little bit more than that. But that's really not that heavy of a load. But as I drove through that bad spot in the road, even with my big wide tires, I could see that there's still a lot of moisture trapped underground, and it's going to be a while before that section of road completely dries out.
To Factor for sponsoring today's video. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep. Factor's no hassle prepared foods make sure that you have something nutritious and delicious on hand for those busy days when you don't have time to think about even making a meal. All you have to do is heat and enjoy. You can put it in the microwave for 2 minutes or you can put it in the oven. It's a perfect go-to lunch or dinner solution when you're on the run or even if you're working from home. Their meals are updated weekly and include over 27 meal options and over 33 add-on options. Factor offers keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie options, which include seafood, meat, and plant-based meals. Factor is so flexible you can adjust your order to your lifestyle needs.
It's really good food.
Mm-hmm. Click the link below and use the code REDPOPPYRANCH50 to get 50% off your first box of Factor today. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code REDPOPPYRANCH50 to get 50% off your first Factor box.
It's good. This might be the part of drywall that I dislike the most, simply moving it around, but this is the 40 sheets that I need to finish the upstairs, and I'm sure happy to have it. Well, this is the skid steer that will go down in history as the one piece of equipment that got us through the winter of 2023. I bought some brand new rims and tires for it a few months back, but they happened to be the wrong color. Instead of Caterpillar yellow, we're after Bobcat red. I ordered the paint directly from Bobcat just to make sure I get the right color of red, and the skid steer is going to get used on the regular, so I might as well keep it looking good in the process. Over winter, I spent time tracking down all the important implements that I want to have for this skid steer for all the projects that we're going to do around here this summer. Like a trencher, like a rock bucket, like a grapple, pallet forks, and an auger to start. Our Bobcat skid steer is about a 25-year-old skid steer, but I can still track down most parts that I need for it, including a new sticker kit. I think I'm going to paint it one of these days. If you're paying attention to these attachments like I am right now, you're seeing that there's literally boatloads of them for sale all over the country. But these are all made overseas, and they don't seem to be made with the same quality parts that the Bobcat attachments have, so that's what I've tried to find. So I wanted to come up and double check that the tanks, the water tanks, are now filled up with water. I contacted RPS Solar, again the company that made the well system that we have, and they sent me a new well tank sensor. Again, because I used almost 1,000 feet of landscaping wire between here and there, there's some resistance with that switch. It appeared that with all the water that went downhill this year, that somehow that wiring got damaged. And in the meantime, I've been waiting for that wireless tank kit to show up. It showed up yesterday, but in the meantime, the well started working again. And so what it means is I'm not under the gun to get that switch changed out, which is good. I need a little bit of time to kind of think about things. So I'm going to set that switch on the shelf for the moment, and probably a little bit later in the summer, I'm going to change that out. But now that I know that the tanks are full and I'm back in business, I want to run up to the little cabin before it gets any thicker. The one thing that's so amazing to me up here every year is the transition from winter to summer, ultimately, from trees without leaves to trees with leaves. It's getting green awful fast around here. The canopy with the trees is filling in very, very fast. So I want to run up to the cabin and just inspect things and see how many animals, how many critters have taken home in my little cabin up there. It's probably been every bit of 4 months since I've been up there. So let's see if we can get up there. Here we go. Okay, let's go see if anything has moved in that's not supposed to be in. I'm gonna walk around the outside of the cabin first. For future reference, I think this is what I'm gonna do on the back of the shop. Rather than having the chimney come out the roof and potentially get ripped off with another bad snowstorm, I think I'm gonna come out the back of the shop and put the chimney there. Looks just like it did when I left it, I think. Man, I love that little stove. Well, everything looks good. No more mice than usual, I guess. Man, I like this little cabin. I need to use this place more. The whole reason why this cabin kind of ended up right here in this little spot basically comes down to that road that goes all the way down to our property. And that road initially was basically a boundary line. It's where I wanted to start thinning trees. And it was the property line that I didn't want to go beyond, obviously. But when I had that little New Holland, I think 50 series excavator up here a few years back, I could only get so far, and there's a little ridge over here, and I just wasn't comfortable taking the excavator up over that. And if I had gone up over that ridge, that is where, in my opinion, the best part of our property exists. But it's so heavily treed just like this, but it's not quite as steep. And unfortunately, I didn't go any further with the excavator, so this is the spot that I chose to put the little cabin. But the issue is the road that gets up here to that cabin. The road is just not safe for the kids to use. Cedar's not comfortable using it. And it was never really intended to be used as a road that way. The thing that's gonna happen this year is the trail from somewhere probably a little bit lower than the cabin. We're gonna cut across the front of the mountain and drop down to the new property. And what I should have is a long, much less steep trail that should come right up here. And then the trail will zigzag and probably try and get up over that ridge. And again, I have to establish these trails that are safe. They can't be so steep that they're not fun to use. So if there was a way, I shouldn't even say this out loud, but if there was a way I could put this little cabin on skids and get it up over the ridge into that little bowl where I really want the cabin, I would probably do that. But I don't think this cabin's truly ever going to move. But I'm probably going to build something at some point down the road in that maple grove on the back of our property, because to me, that's where all the wildlife is. There's more water back there. And I really haven't gotten to know that area back there either. And that's something that I really want to do. So anyway, along with all my other projects, we got to get that trail cut in this summer. This is right about where we stopped the fence line last year, and this is where the fence needs to continue. There's still probably almost a half of a mile of fencing that has to be fixed or replaced, and my goal is to get that done before it gets to the hottest days of summer. So I've got to add this one to the list too. I'm now getting to where I've got a first coat on almost everything around the shop. Some of it I even have a second coat as well. The way I learned to do drywall, it requires a few coats. Once the drywall has been taped, I do a first coat, trying to blend the seam into the wall. And then with a wider blade, I do a second coat, and then again even a third coat. Somewhere in the middle I've got to sand it. But again, I'm not going to go too crazy on this stuff because there's going to be shelves in front of it. As much as it's driving me crazy, I'm actually making some progress with the drywall, so I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to squeeze a few projects in between, but hopefully by the end of next week, the shop is painted and we're moving on to other things. But in the middle of doing all this, I'm going to try and start the process of cutting the new trails in, combining the new property and the old property, giving us a much safer access to the back of our property. This is where we are right now. In order for Cedar to get to her Jeep, she has to ride the four-wheeler down there.
Bye, love you.
Bye, love you guys. Bye, Kylie. No, you're fine right there. Bye, guys. Drive slow. You don't have helmets on. That's where we are right now. Cedar rides the four-wheelers or the side-by-side down to where her Jeep is, because that spot in the road is still pretty bad, and then from there she drives the Jeep into town. This is, I think she said, trip number 4 today, between games, and I think Bandit had a haircut. So anyway, she's a trooper. She's not even complaining. She does it looking good too, but I did drive her Jeep through it, but it's still too soft to keep driving through it. But people are already starting to drive through it, so at some point we're just all gonna have to start pushing through it and seeing if that mud eventually dries out. So back on the drywall. As much as I dislike doing drywall, someday I'll look back on this moment and be grateful that I did it, because it's going to make a tremendous difference out here in the shop. Every time I turn my back, Callie and Reed are out here playing. And as I said in past videos, I know we're going to use it like crazy as a family. So I should probably put the time into it where I don't have to come back and revisit this. And the truth is that once the drywall is all finished, everything else will go really fast. But the details around the bedrooms and the bathroom should be fun. Let's just say I'm going to use a lot of corrugated tin. Thank you for taking time to watch this video. It means a lot to us. On our next video, I'll definitely have an update on the drywall, but there's a few other things that I need to get done. I need to fire up the Cummins plow truck, take the plow off it, take the chains off it, and see how that thing runs down the highway.